closing the point gap on United and Liverpool to try and fight for a top four spot was going to be huge. And to come away from those matches with 4 points, I mean, you say that before they even started, and yeah, I would have bit your arm off for that.
Yeah.
Anyone would have. 4 points is great from these two matches. And, you just got the North London Derby coming up, and the schedule eases up a little bit on the competition for the next 4 games after that.
Yeah, you really hope we don't take a step back, right? I mean, you get through that and say you win the North London Derby and beat Arsenal, and you take that deep breath and go, man, what then you got to look at Juventus. Oh, by the way, midweek, as soon as that ends, and then you do run into that fixture, that's section of the fixture list that is a little more advantageous, and you kind of hope, hey, let's just bowl through this. If it's get the 12 points if it's 4 matches, and see where that puts us. Let these other teams maybe knock each other off, and then of course I think City and Chelsea are shortly after that on the horizon. There's only a handful of games, dozen or so left?
There 12 games left in the Premier League. The next 4 after the North London Derby are Palace, Huddersfield, Bournemouth, and Newcastle. So I mean, it's a good run right there. They really stack up some points. So coming out of these 3 games against United, Liverpool particularly, since they are above us in the table, and then Arsenal as well, which they're still in fight for a top 4 spot. So 3 games in a row against teams that could end up in the top 4, and they come off already after 2 of them with 4 points. Onwards and upwards. Let's keep it going into the North London Derby, and then push through the easier schedule, start racking up these points, and you could finish second place, which is not that far off right now.
Yeah, certainly winnable fixtures, and definitely want to try to get a hold of those before those teams that are in an absolute relegation scrap the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Well, I mean, this year that's like everyone. There's like 10 people.
I know.
10 teams are in a relegation
West Ham,
scrap.
You're in a relegation scrap. Oh, by the way, if you haven't heard, you guys stink. Absolutely horrible. I got absolutely manhandled this past weekend by Brighton. It was comical to watch. I actually watched that one on my phone. Okay, let's move on to Liverpool. 2 massive comebacks, and the last 12 minutes of this match, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, because we record shortly thereafter on Sundays like this. Sometimes these 2 comebacks, and I mean, Salah's a magician. Kane gets his 100th with that penalty at the end. Wanyama's wonder strike to bring things level outside of the boot, 32, 35 yards out, whatever it was. The ball started, Tim, that ball started about 2 yards left of the post and then just curled its way in. Probably going about, 80 miles an hour. It looked like. It was incredible.
It was an absolutely incredible strike, and you don't expect that coming from Wanyama. Not to say, I mean, obviously he's a powerful player, but to have that technique to hit it with outside the boot and the accuracy, it was just amazing. Kind of like very similar to Rose's goal on his debut.
Yeah, and you know what I thought of when I first saw it was when Sandro had the goal against United. And a very similar goal where he just absolutely put his laces through it, and it went into the top right corner of the net. But yeah, again, just like Rose, this was, I mean, the guys, the pundits were talking about this goal of the year candidate. Absolute wonder strike. I've gone back and watched it a few times, and it just blows my mind how much power he put into that. Vass. When I look back on this match, it was really hard for me to get past Dyer's assist to Salah in the 3rd minute and remember, try to go through the match and say, you know what, you're playing okay. I got about halfway through the second half and I realized he's not playing a horrible game. At that point, what do you say to an Eric Dyer that gets him back in the game a little bit? It doesn't look like he was struggling, but do you? I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, do you think he played well after making the error early on?
Is that to me, Ken? Because I lost you for a moment. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it all went quiet for a moment. First, I didn't get all of that, but the first half was shockingly poor. Sanchez and Dyer were having difficult games, I thought. Sanchez is a massive prospect, and he is already being likened to a future Ledley King, and maybe one day he will be, but he looked uneasy on his feet. His passings were going astray. Eric Dyer wasn't really at the races. And generally the team were struggling with Liverpool's press. It's a story we've heard before up at Anfield, unfortunately. But credit to Pochettino, whatever adjustments he made at half-time seems to work, although in his post-match, I don't think he really made that many adjustments by his admission. He just said to the players, keep doing what you're doing and the spaces will appear, and that's generally what happened. And we took control of the game, and really by the end of it, we should have had 3 points, not one. Not that I'm disappointed with 1 point, but you don't expect Harry Kane to miss a penalty.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'm so glad you guys weren't in my house after we missed the penalty and Salah made it 2-1, because I turned the air blue. Need some anger management, seriously. I went mad. I couldn't believe that we were going to lose this game after such a brilliant second half. Yeah. But then, credit to the assistant ref for being so brave right at the very end and awarding that penalty, deservedly so, and a point was the least we deserved.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Vass. As a former referee, the byline officials don't generally get involved that much as this match dictated anyway. Conversations about the first penalty, was he offside, was he not? Listen, I didn't put the flag up, I don't think he was offside. What's he going to do, reverse his own call 5 minutes after the fact? I don't think that he can do that, but do you... As a byline official, making that call to call a penalty, it seems a little bit rare. How often does that happen?
Yeah, it can be rare, but in actual fact, I've worked with that assistant ref who gave the penalty. He's from these parts, so I've worked with Eddie before. But generally, the referees brief their assistants pre-game. And it's generally accepted that when it comes to penalty decisions, if the assistant referee is 100% certain and he's seen something that the referee has not seen, and it's on his side of the penalty area, as it were, then they're free to step in and award it. And that's precisely what that assistant ref did today, and credit to him.
Yeah, and I felt, as sorry as I can feel, I felt a little bit sorry for Van Dijk, because I don't think he saw Lamela at all and was just going for the ball, and Lamela stepped right in front of him, took the shot in the back, which unfortunately probably means he's out for about the next 6 weeks. But
it was smart by Lamela. He knew. He just stepped in front of Van Dijk. He knew that he would probably get a kick or something, and that's how it's turned out. And it was a great end to the game by giving us that draw, which we thoroughly deserved.
Yeah, and
that ref is the new Mike Dean.
Yeah, right. I don't know about all that. No, Mike's a special guy. Tim, Lamela he's getting these 20 minutes a game. Is he becoming super sub? Do you think that his chances of being in the starting 11 are extraordinarily limited right now, and being that impact, high energy sub off the bench is what his role is right now? And will that earn him a new contract, I guess, is the second part of that question.
Well, the first part, with the form of Sonny, it's going to be difficult for him to get some game time, to get the starts. I don't want to take out Ali, Ericksen, or Son for Lamela to get a start, especially in these crucial games. I'd rather have those three playing. So as long as those three are playing at the level they are right now, the form they've been playing with, he's going to be limited to sub roles or cup matches. And that's just how it is. As far as earning a new contract, I don't know. It depends what he wants. If he's wanting starter money and he's only putting in sub appearances, probably not. I don't see us paying, that type of money for a player who's not making as much of an impact as a starter would. So I don't know. I have no clue. I mean, that's more behind the scenes stuff. I have no clue what he's looking for in terms of wages, but it could be difficult for him to get that new deal.
Oh, come on.
Vass, if we don't re-sign Lamela and he does maybe go off, is that Spurs maybe taking a little bit of a step backwards now that they really have some ample attacking options off the bench that don't impact their wage bill the way other clubs do? Is losing him a mistake if we do?
Losing Lamela.
Losing Lamela, yeah.
I guess Pochettino's not averse to taking tough decisions if he has to. Remember how highly we thought of Nabil Bentaleb not that long ago.
Yeah.
So I think it's a wait and see on Lamela. The problem with I've always supported the guy, but he's been with us 4 seasons now, and he's spent the best part of 2 of those seasons injured. It's not a great way to try and cement your place in the team.
Yep.
I think he does bring something to the squad, but the more options we have, and you said earlier about having more options coming off the bench, then unless he puts in some kind of run of amazing performances, then he's going to be restricted to the bench and coming off every now and again. So it really will depend on him when his contract comes up to see where exactly he is in terms of his rehabilitation and his participation in the squad and the team. And then the club and the player will have to make a decision, because if he wants to play regular first team football, then he may even decide himself that he'll need to move on. So that's a wait and see thing at the moment. I think he's really still finding his feet after what was a horrific injury that he had and 2 quite serious operations.
Right.
But yeah, would like to keep him hanging around for the benefit of the squad. And kudos to Timmy once again for calling the Lamela replacing Foyth in the Champions League squad. So the oracle that is Tim is 2 for 2.
Timmy, our soothsayer.
Nostradamus.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that bodes an interesting question too, because Moore is not cup tied or anything like that, right? He can be on the squad, yes or no?
Yes, he can. Yeah,
he is.
Okay, good. So
what it was Lamela took George Kevin Nkudu's spot, and then Foyth was dropped.
Oh yeah,
signed Moore.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, Juventus coming up is going to be a massive match. I'm actually very happy that we have the first leg on the road. I think if we can get that road goal, we defensively should be able to shut up shop and keep them from scoring, I would like to think anyway. Dybala, I believe, is still nursing a pretty nasty hamstring injury. Higuain, I think, had a hat-trick, a second-half hat-trick today. So, they have, their attacking options are not limited whatsoever, but that's a match that we will talk about another time. Back to the Liverpool match. The crowd really seemed to be kind of going back and forth in this one. Vass, have you ever had an opportunity to go to Anfield and watch Spurs?
No, I haven't, if I'm honest. You'd have thought that I would have done, having supported them all these years, but it's been such an unhappy hunting ground for us. It's just been one of those places that I haven't actually managed to get to. So I admittedly haven't made as big an effort as I would have liked, but certainly it's a ground that I would like to get to still. So who knows, maybe next season.
Yeah, definitely. Timmy, as far as the match goes as a whole, do you have any other comments that you want to talk about or bring up right now?
I mean, I don't know about you guys. You guys seem to think that the penalties were warranted, but I thought we got really lucky there with some with some calls. I do not think either of those was a penalty.
You don't think the one on Lamela was? The one on Kane was iffy, even with the keeper coming out. I mean, Kane threw his legs at his arm more than the arm went to the leg.
Well, the thing with Kane is he's offsides to begin with, and
no, he's not.
Yes, he was in an offsides position. I understand that their player